Have you ever felt like you're just shouting into the void? You create all this content and it just seems to disappear the second you post it. Well, we're about to dive into a strategy that completely flips that script. It's about stopping the noise and starting to build real digital assets that actually grow in value over time. Does this hit a little too close to home? That feeling, right? The endless pressure to post something, anything, every single day. You feel like you're on a content hamster wheel, just churning out stuff that, let's be honest, has a shelf life of maybe 24 hours. That exact feeling of burnout is what we're here to solve today.
And not hamster wheel, it has a name. It's the cycle of ephemeral content. We're talking about chasing trends that are gone in a week, reacting to every little news story, and basically creating things that are designed to be forgotten. It is absolutely exhausting, and it almost never builds anything that lasts for your brand or, more importantly, for your audience. So let's just lay it all out. You've really got two paths you can go down. On one side, you've got that ephemeral content. You put in a ton of effort for a super short lifespan. It's all about chasing what's hot right now. But on the other side, you've got Evergreen. This is where you create something of incredibly high value that lasts for a long, long time. Because it's not about trends, it's about solving real, persistent problems for people. And that brings us right to the heart of it, the Evergreen solution. Think of this kind of content like, well, an evergreen tree. It stays green, it stays relevant, it stays vital through every single season, year after year. This isn't just content, it's an asset. It's something you build once, and it keeps delivering value long, long after you hit that publish button. So what's the actual return on your investment here? Well, it breaks down really nicely with this vital framework. First up, V is for visibility. Your content is always findable through search, pulling people in months or even years later. I is for intelligence. It becomes a library showcasing your expertise. T is for trust. You build that by being the one who reliably solves your audience's problems. That, of course, leads to A for authority, making you the undeniable go-to expert. And finally, the best part, L is for longevity. You're creating assets that will work for you for years. Now, why is this so critical, especially right now? Well, there's this concept in marketing called the 7-11-4 rule, and it really puts things into perspective. It suggests that today's buyers need to spend about 7 hours engaging with your brand before they're even ready to trust you. 7 hours. That is a huge amount of time to fill if all you're making is disposable 24-hour content. And it's not just about the total time, it's about how they spend it. The rule also suggests that those 7 hours need to be spread across 11 different touch points. Just think about that for a second. 11 separate interactions. That might be a blog post they find on Google, then a video on YouTube, a guide they download, a social post they comment on. You need a deep, valuable library to make that even possible. And to top it all off, those 11 touchpoints need to happen in at least 4 different locations. So they might find you on Google search, watch a tutorial on YouTube, see a post from you on LinkedIn, and then finally, read a guide on your website. This is where that hamster wheel just completely falls apart. The only way to sustainably be in all those places with something valuable to say is by building on a foundation of evergreen assets. Okay, so the strategy makes perfect sense. But the big question is, how do you actually find these so-called evergreen gold mines? Well, the secret isn't about guessing or trying to predict the next trend. It's much simpler. It's about listening and uncovering the real, ongoing needs of your audience. And you know what? The answers are almost always hiding in plain sight. Seriously, just look at your customer service tickets. Look at your social media DMs, the questions you get in your emails. What are people asking you over and over and over again? You can even go to Google Autocomplete or browse Reddit threads in your niche. You'll see the fundamental problems people are trying to solve right there. Let's make this really concrete. Imagine for a minute you're Greystone College, and you cater to international students. Your inbox, your DMs, they are probably flooded with 2 huge questions. How in the world do I get a Canadian student visa? And what exactly is a co-op program? Right? These aren't trendy, flash-in-the-pan questions. They are fundamental hurdles for every single person in your audience. That, my friends, is an evergreen goldmine. Or let's take a totally different example, Rodeo Steakhouse. It's a Brazilian steakhouse, and they host a lot of big group events. Well, their evergreen topics are baked right into their business. People will always need to know, how do I book a corporate party for 50 people? And because their style of service is unique, they will always get the question, what is a rodizio and how does that work? These questions just do not go out of style. So once you think you have an idea, you need to run it through this quick little 3-question test. First up, is it time-bound? I mean, is it tied to a specific holiday, like Christmas, or a news event, or some seasonal sale? If the answer is yes, it's probably not evergreen. Okay, question number 2, is the offer stable? In other words, will the product or the service that this content is about still be around in a year? You really want to build these big assets around the core, stable parts of what you do. And finally, this is the most important question of all. Does it provide a fundamental solution to a persistent problem? The Canadian visa process? That's a persistent problem. Planning a big corporate event? Also a persistent problem. If your content genuinely solves one of these, you've got yourself some serious evergreen potential. All right, so you've found your topics. Now it's time to actually build. And we do this using something called content pillars. Think of them as these big, comprehensive, foundational pieces of content. Let's look at one of the most powerful and durable formats you can use. The first one, and honestly, maybe the most powerful, is the comprehensive how-to guide. Now, this isn't some quick 500-word blog post. No way. This is an in-depth, definitive resource, the kind of thing that provides a complete A to Z solution for a major problem your audience is wrestling with. So let's apply this directly to our example. Greystone College could create something called the Ultimate Guide to the Canadian Student Visa and Co-op Process. This one single asset could become the most valuable piece of marketing they own because it would answer every single key question an aspiring student has, all in one place. And what about Rodeo's Steakhouse? Their pillar could be something like how to host the perfect corporate dinner party for 50-plus guests. Think about it. It could cover everything from booking and menu choices to exactly what to expect from the Rodizio experience. This doesn't just make them a restaurant. It positions them as an expert partner who makes event planning easy. Now, this is where the real magic happens. You don't just publish this giant, amazing pillar and then walk away. No, you practice something called atomization. It's a cool word for a simple idea. You take that one huge asset, that solid block, and you break it down into dozens of smaller pieces or coins that you can then use across all of your different channels. Let me show you what I mean. Greystone's Ultimate Visa Guide pillar, it can be atomized into a ton of smaller pieces. You could create a simple Instagram carousel on the 5 common visa application mistakes. You could make a 60-second YouTube short on 3 quick tips for a successful co-op. You could create a downloadable PDF checklist for LinkedIn. See, it's one big effort that generates dozens and dozens of smaller assets. But hang on, the work isn't quite done yet. Because evergreen doesn't mean set it and forget it. A better way to think about it is maintain and appreciate. So the final crucial step is understanding the power of the refresh, just making sure your best assets stay accurate and relevant. And the payoff for this little bit of maintenance? It's absolutely enormous. This number right here comes from a real case study. A single pillar post was really underperforming. But with a simple refresh, just updating a few stats, adding a little new context, and then re-promoting it, its impressions skyrocketed. It went from just over 200 to more than 36,000. That is the incredible power of keeping your best assets alive and well. So, all of this leaves us with one final big question to think about. I want you to really consider your audience, their most persistent problems, and what you're an expert in. What is the one evergreen asset that you can start building today that will finally get you off that hamster wheel and start serving your audience for years to come?